بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم ربنا أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر أولياءك في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم انصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم فرج عنا وعن إخواننا في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم نفس كربنا وكربنا وثبت أقدامنا وأقدامنا والطف بنا وبهم يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين. وصلي وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم وصلي عليه. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين آمين يا رب العالمين. Okay, so we have been looking at Allama Iqbal's claim or Allama Iqbal's evaluation of Einstein's theories, especially his theory of relativity. And he found two positive aspects in theory of relativity, and then he goes on to critique some other aspects of the theory. So we basically covered those two, what he calls philosophical values of the theory. But I'll go over it again, and then we'll try to link to the discussion about Allama Iqbal's critique of Einstein's theory of relativity. Okay, so the philosophical value of the theory is twofold. First, it doesn't destroy the objectivity of nature, which is, according to Allama Iqbal, I think he uses objectivity in two senses in these lectures, at least as far as I can remember. But the view of substance as a simple location in space, a view which led to materialism in the classical physics, but it destroys not the objective but the view. So the good thing about, according to Allama Iqbal, Einstein theory is that it destroys the view of substance as simple location in space, as locus, which for him is a view which led to materialism in classical physics. So it seems here that he thinks that Einstein theory is not materialistic because it destroys the view of substance as a simple location in space without destroying the objectivity of nature, which is sort of a detriment of physics, because without objectivity, if you destroy the objectivity of nature, probably you can't manipulate nature, which is one of the raison d'etre of physics. But objectivity of nature, I think Allama Iqbal has used in a different sense, but it's not, I can't recall it right now, but it's not important at this point. So the philosophical value of theory is twofold. First, it destroys not the law. I don't think Einstein theory is not materialistic, but maybe what Allama Iqbal thinks is that maybe he thinks that classical physics Materialism within classical physics. Within classical physics is a type of materialism which doesn't leave room for spiritualism, or at least is biased towards or tilted towards sort of materialism which is more compatible with a position or philosophical position which rejects spiritualism. Because when in philosophy, when we talk about materialism, we contrast it with so in philosophy, materialism is a view that mental or spiritual is either a function of matter or a refined form of matter. So the basic stuff is material and there is no other stuff. So that would be sort of monism. But forefathers or fathers of modern physics, like for example Descartes is a thoroughgoing materialist, but he is also a dualist. So it's not as if dualism is something alien to classical metaphysics. So I don't know. Yeah, that's all I want to say at this point. So, so Allama Iqbal, according to Allama Iqbal, the first value of the theory is that it destroys materialism of the classical physics, but without destroying the objectivity of nature. And that is a welcome step for Allama Iqbal because he believes in spiritual ultimate reality. Ultimate reality is spiritual, and that he thinks is incompatible with classical physics, which seems at least prima facie not necessarily a very convincing idea. At least there is a room in class. At least you can combine a dualistic picture with classical materialism of with the classical physics materialism. But maybe because Allama Iqbal is a monist of a spiritualist type, that's why I think he thinks that materialism. So I think that might be the case. So as I said, although dualism of Cartesian sort is compatible with classical physics, probably the monism of Hegelian sort, for example, is not, or at least not congenial to classical physics. And because Allama Iqbal is a monist in this sense, he thinks that classical physics um, is incompatible with his type of spiritualism, while um, Einstein theory is not, because it does away with the notion of substance as a locus, as a point in space, which for him is the fountainhead of materialism. Um, and we talked about that earlier. Although, as I said, to me it seems very questionable idea that Einstein's relativity does away with materialism, or even the notion of substance. And even philosophically, I mean, if we think about Einstein's philosophical position, he is a Spinozist of a sort. And as a Spinozist, you are a monist, but you don't deny matter and mind. Distinction, they are mode of the same substance, but there is still a sort of dualism in Spinoza, which you don't find in Hegel or Iqbal, even though Hegel was influenced by, crucially, I mean, influenced by Spinoza, etc. Anyway, let's go back. These are unending debates. That was the first value of Einstein theory. The second is the theory makes space dependent on matter. Okay, in a way it does, because for Einstein, space is effect of matter, so to speak. The universe, according to Einstein, is not a kind of island in an infinite space, but it is finite but boundless. I don't know whether it is finite, but beyond it there is no empty space, because because you know, space is nothing apart from space is nothing apart from matter. So in the absence of matter, universe would shrink to a point. Looking, however, at the theory from a standpoint of that I have taken, okay, say, and that is also a valuable thing for Iqbal, because for him, an independent space is somehow, for Allama Iqbal, independent space is somehow also essential for classical physics materialism, because he thinks that because obviously if there is no space, then there is no locus, and yes, matter can exist in a way in which it is conceived by classical physics, according to Allama Iqbal. So both the notion of substance and space are somehow necessary for each other. So if you don't have independent space, you don't have independent matter. or self-subsistence matter, self-subsistent matter or substance. That's what substance is. And then somehow there is no hard materialism of the classical physics. So that's the idea anyway. Looking however at the theory from the standpoint that I have taken the Einstein's relativity present one great difficulty. Okay, so we are again going to stop here. That's enough. But we did go over the same points, but I think we were able to extract something different. So hopefully next time we'll just go direct into his critique of Einstein theory. Okay, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين آمين يا رب العالمين.